but to let the goodness of God pour in like sunlight. You open your soul to blessings every time that door opens. You say, let this be a house where laughter lives, where forgiveness breathes, where truth can speak and still be loved.
I don't
There
even
is an
know where
art to
that's coming
welcoming
from.
people, child, and salt helps you do that with grace. When a guest steps over that salt line, let them feel the presence of the Most High. Let them walk in and sense something they can't explain. Let them sit at your table and taste not just your food, but your peace.
Can you hear me?
Because the front door should never be just decoration. It should be dedication. Dedicate that space to the Lord. Lay your salt and say, Lord, bless this door. Let only that which is good, holy, and healing come through. Let this be the point where pain ends and purpose begins. Let this door never welcome deception, confusion, or despair. And then watch what God does. Watch how strife leaves without you lifting a finger. Watch how arguments stop before they can start. Watch how people say, I don't know what it is about your home. It just feels different. That's the salt, baby. That's the prayer soaked into the wood. That's the spirit leaning against your doorpost like an old friend, keeping watch. I've seen too many homes that are beautiful on the outside, but broken on the inside because they never bless the door. Don't let that be you. Make your front door a place of holy transition, a place where burdens are dropped and blessings begin, a place where folks know that once they cross the threshold, they are walking into something sacred. And let me tell you something, sugar, you don't need a crowd to do it. You don't need a chair. You don't need to wait until Sunday. Just you, your salt, and your faith are enough. Open your Bible, whisper a psalm, lay your salt down like an offering, and say with conviction, this home belongs to the Lord.
I'm going to go ahead and let that play because I don't know where it's coming from.
And the God who hears the prayers spoken in
welcome
tears,
to my chat.
Who sees the mother anointing the door frame while the children sleep, who watches the widow whisper blessings into her threshold.
I see.
He honors
this
that.
is
He
put
sends
salt
angels.
in 5 places in your
hedges.
home and watch
He
God
places his
move.
name over the door
And this
like
is
a
from
banner.
Maya's wisdom.
So child, don't underestimate that doorway. Stand before it like a priest before the temple. Lay your salt. Say your prayer. Speak your truth. And then open that door wide to the goodness of God. Because when you do, you won't have to shout or beg. You'll just stand there in quiet confidence and watch God move. There is something about a corner child that holds mystery. In a room full of light, it's the corners that often stay in shadow. They sit quiet, tucked away, forgotten by the broom, overlooked by the eye, but not forgotten by the spirit. For even in the most beautiful homes, darkness sometimes hides in corners. We often clean the center of the room, where company gathers, where laughter lives, where we spread the table and open the gifts. But the corners, oh, those quiet, humble corners, they collect more than dust. They collect the whispers of sorrow, the breath of old arguments, the sighs of secrets never told. And that, my dear, is where the salt comes in. Yes, salt in the corners. You place it there not because you're superstitious, but because you're wise. You're tending to the places others ignore. You are saying, I see you, silence. I see you, sadness. But you cannot stay here anymore. Because in every house, no matter how clean, how new, how prayed over, there are corners that need clearing. Not just from clutter, but from spirit, from energy, from invisible things that hang around like uninvited guests who don't know when to leave. Have you ever walked into a room and felt something wasn't right, even though everything looked fine? That's the corners talking. That's the residue of things left unsaid, left unhealed. And those things, child, they don't belong in a house where God dwells. That's why you go to each corner one by one, and you place your salt with intention, with reverence, with prayer. You kneel if you must. You whisper if you have to. But you make it known. This corner is under new management. This space is sanctified. and something shifts. Because when you honor the corners, you are honoring the whole. When you invite God into the quiet places, He fills them with peace. When you name the shadows, they lose their power. I once knew an old woman, wise beyond her years, who never entered a room without first blessing its corners. I asked her once, why the corners? And she looked at me with eyes that had seen too much and said, because the devil don't always knock at the door. Sometimes he slips in through the cracks. She was right. You can have joy in the center of your life and still have grief camped out in the corners. You can sing praises and still carry the residue of pain that clings like cobwebs. But salt, sweet child, salt is the ancient purifier. It's the earth's way of saying, be clean, be new whole. So go ahead, take that salt, and walk through your home like a warrior and a worshiper. Go to the bedroom where sleep has been uneasy and pour a little salt in the corner. Say, let peace reign here. Go to the kitchen where words were once flung like knives and place your salt. Say, let healing rise up like bread in the oven. Go to the bathroom where tears were cried alone and set that salt like a sentinel. Say, let joy find this space again. Go to the hallway where arguments echoed down the walls. Lay that salt like a line in the sand. Say, no more confusion, no more chaos. And in the children's room, Lord, especially there, lay that salt with trembling hands and bold faith. Say, protect their dreams, shield their minds, guard their growing hearts. Because corners may be hidden, but nothing is hidden from God. And when you put salt in those corners, you are inviting the Holy Spirit to fill every inch, every edge, every hidden place. You're telling fear it has no place to hide. You're telling depression it must pack up and leave. You're telling bitterness the lease is up. You see, salt doesn't just purify the air. It purifies your intention. It reminds you that holiness is not just in church pews and pulpits. It is in how you tend to your home. It is in how you honor the small things, the unnoticed things, the in-between things. Because sometimes what's holding you back isn't in plain sight. It's in the corner of your thought, the edge of your heart, the memory tucked in the back of your mind. And when you cleanse the physical corners, something spiritual happens too. Your mind clears. Your spirit lifts. Your hope returns. You begin to walk taller, sleep deeper, laugh louder. Not because life got easier, but because your space, your sacred space, is no longer hosting what God never sent. People may ask you, why salt? And you can tell them, because I'm partnering with heaven. Because I understand that even though my eyes can't see it, there is a battle going on in the atmosphere of my home. And I have chosen to fight with faith and with salt, with scripture and with surrender, with presence and with purpose. And the Lord honors that. He sees you, beloved, kneeling in the corner of a forgotten room, pouring a simple handful of salt. And he leans down, brushes the angel dust off his shoulders, and fills that corner with his glory, with his rest, with his unshakable, undeniable peace. Don't let the devil live in the corners of your life. Evict him with praise. Drive him out with truth. Chase him away with the salt of your covenant and the fire of your prayer. Because a house of God is not just about crosses on the wall or Bible verses on display. It's about the spirit that lives there. The love that lingers in the air. The quiet assurance that even in the corners, the presence of God dwells. So go now, tend to your corners. Sweep them with scripture. Sanctify them with salt. And watch how God begins to move. Not just in the loud places, not just in the center, but in the quiet, overlooked, forgotten places. Because God does not just meet us in the sanctuary. He meets us in the corners. And when he does, my Lord, even the shadows must flee. Nighttime, my dear, is a sacred time. It is the hush of the world, the folding in of the day. It is the moment when our bones, weary from labor, seek rest, and our minds, bruised from thought, Yearn for silence, but not every night is kind. Not every rest is sweet, and not every soul finds peace when the lights go low. There are many who walk through daylight upright and composed, only to crumble when the darkness creeps in. Some are hunted by worry, others are chased by memories. Some cannot sleep because their dreams turn against them. Their bodies lie still, but their spirits toss and turn in places unseen. And so, child, I tell you, go to the bed. Go not just with sheets and blankets and a pillow fluffed right, but with salt in hand and faith in heart. Because rest is not just a matter of the flesh. Rest is holy, rest is sacred. And under that bed where shadows stretch long and imaginations run wild, there is a place where peace must be planted and protected. I have known mothers who cried themselves to sleep, fathers who stared at ceilings burdened by unpaid bills, and children whose dreams turned into nightmares too dark for their little hearts to hold. And I say sprinkle that salt under your bed, beloved. Do it like a prayer. Do it like an offering. Do it like a declaration that even in the darkest hour, you are not alone. You see, salt under the bed is not superstition. It is intention. It is you saying to the heavens, let this place of rest be covered. Let it be guarded. Let it be an altar of stillness and safety. For the bed is not merely a place where sleep visits. It is where God can cradle you. It is where angels hover. It is where your spirit, worn and tender, lays down its sword and waits for healing. And when the salt is there, silent, small, unseen, it speaks loud in the realm of the spirit. It tells anxiety, you have no room here. It tells fear, this bed is not your dwelling place. It tells trauma, you will not write the script of this night. That salt may look simple, but child, don't be fooled. It carries a legacy of purification, a history of covenant, a whisper of God's promise. I remember an old soul, a woman bent from years of life, but strong in the spine of her faith. She would rise in the early morning and sprinkle salt beneath her grandchildren's beds, not because they asked, not because they understood, but because she knew. She knew what it meant to keep watch, even when no one else was looking. She said, if I can't be there in their dreams, I'll be there in my prayers, and the salt will be my witness. What a mighty woman she was. She did not wage war with loud declarations or fierce debates. She did it quietly, beneath the mattress, with a handful of earth's purity and a heart full of God's truth. And night after night, peace returned, not just because of salt, but because of belief, because of the act of surrender, because of the faith that says even the floor beneath me can carry protection.
Yes.
Now listen to me if you have been restless. If your sleep has felt heavy or haunted, if you've awoken with a weight you cannot name, don't ignore it. Don't wave it off. Don't let the world convince you that restlessness is normal. It is not. You were not made to live in exhaustion. You were not born to battle in your dreams. You were designed for peace. And so take your salt, whisper your prayer, slide it gently under the bed and say, God, come into this room. Come into my rest. Come into the silent hours where no one else sees. Stand watch where I cannot. Speak peace where I have none. Let no terror pass this threshold. Let no darkness hide beneath me. Let the breath I take in sleep be blessed, and the dreams I dream be touched by your grace. That's it. No long sermon, no fancy words, just the truth spoken in faith. Because when you lay your head down, it is not just your body that rests. It is your soul, your mind, your spirit. And those parts of you, the invisible ones, they too need care, they too need light. And salt, quiet and unassuming, becomes your candle beneath the bed. It becomes your lamp beneath the covers. It becomes your line drawn in the sand that says, this is holy ground. I've known children trembling from dreams too big for their hearts. I've known grown folks afraid to close their eyes. I've known those who sleep with the TV on because silence sounds too loud. To all of them, I say, let salt be your sentinel. Let it stand at the gates of your sleep. Let it speak what you cannot. And when you wake, child, when the sun pours in and the shadows shrink, thank the Lord. Thank him not just for waking you, but for watching over you while you slept. Thank him for the quiet miracle of an undisturbed night. Thank him for the unseen warfare he fought on your behalf. And then rise. Rise strong. Rise steady. Rise with the kind of peace that comes not from 8 hours, but from holy covering. Because your bed has become a sanctuary. Your night has become a temple. And your sleep, precious one, is no longer a battleground, but a blessing. Yes, salt under the bed. It may seem simple to the world, but to the spirit it is sacred. It is strength. It is a whisper to the darkness that says, not tonight, not in this house, not under this roof. This soul is guarded. This rest is divine. This body is God's. And God watches while I sleep. So sleep, dear heart. Sleep without fear. Sleep under grace. Sleep in peace. Because God is near. And even the salt under your bed knows his name.
Ciao. Well, there we go. I mean, that came out of nowhere. And today, welcome. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. You know, today is my first day ever doing some content on YouTube. I rarely go live on Facebook, but what I decided to do while I've been taking a little time off was to really build my technology skills, my technical skills, not relying so much on paper and pencil, but really like digging into technology and I'm really excited about this new journey I'm about to take here with content creation because it gives me the opportunity to say what I'm not allowed to say, in a regular workspace. I should say the censorship of it all. I want this platform to talk about, you know, things that like I do at night. Like I could stay up all night in a rabbit hole somewhere in YouTube, Facebook, reels and things like that. And I get the opportunity to just, go wherever I want to go. No specific topic, but they will be topics of wellness, support, advocacy. Um, some topics will be heavy, some will be light and funny, some will have them all in one. So I just want to welcome you, um, anyone who gets a chance to see this. I like to talk, and I like to figure out different things. So you'll be learning with me about me as I learn how to navigate this technical world. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I mean, we've already started with Maya. I mean, I don't even know how that came on, but I think I like it. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of that in, to start each of my videos because I don't know where that came from, but thank you, Lord. Just make a note. Oh, yeah, I'm trying not to use my paper and pen. So let me just go ahead and start a new Word document for notes. I'm just going to go ahead and add that in. And that was from the page called Maya's Wisdom. It is a YouTube. I did just subscribe to that. I mean, I wasn't even subscribed to that. So that was something else. So, and it talked about salt and spirituality. So, I already left a note here. What was it called? Maya's Wisdom. Maya's Wisdom. And you can find that on YouTube. And one of my topics in the future will be thought and spirituality. Okay. So, again, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, so, today's topic we're going to do is about the children today. You know, summer's coming. The kids will be out in a lot of community places, swimming pools, parks, sending them down to the playground, um, cookouts, things like that. Like um, it doesn't always got to be someplace big. It could be somewhere small, just sending them down to the corner store. I know some people do that, let their children go on down to the store. It's just on the corner, not too far. And it could be a couple kids together, so you really feel safe about that decision. But, you know, I can remember when I was younger, like, being able to go to the store myself, you know, uh, felt grown doing it. You know, my mom would let us um, go together. I can't really recall walking by myself, or even if I did, I don't have a recollection of, a scary moment when I went to the store by myself. But that was decades ago. Let's be honest, decades ago, and the world is different now. So I want to start today with a story that I saw, and I was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and start it right there because why not? It's summer. We need to make sure that these children stay safe. So let's see if I can uh, pull this up. Okay, pause. Oh, and you know what I can do too? When I'm starting, I should be able to um, have it all queued up and ready. So I will do that moving forward. And this young lady I found today, and I was like, wow, she seems to have a lot of content. This particular one, it came out 2 years ago, but she has a lot of followers, and yeah, I thought it was a very interesting topic, and so that was my rabbit hole, the entrance to the rabbit hole, I should say, for today. So let me see something. Let me get back to my screen. And I thought I saw a space where I can share my screen. Yep. Here we go. And let's get started.
Mystery items, as you guys know. And speaking of mystery, we have just restocked our mystery galaxy ball necklaces. This has been the most highly requested item to bring back, so we did, but they are selling really quickly. So I'm going to put everything down below in the description for you. Okay, so let's get right into these Disney accidents. The first thing we're going to talk about is opening day. Disneyland's opening day on July 17th of 1955, Sunday, because of how disastrous it was. Some areas of the park were not quite finished, and the construction crew had to rush to finish the other areas before people arrived. The plumbers had gone on strike, forcing Walt Disney to choose between having the restrooms finished or the water fountains finished. And he chose the restrooms, which I understand. But because of that, guests were walking around desperately looking for water, and there were no water fountains. People were getting dehydrated, they were fainting, and it was a super hot summer day, so it was just not going well. In addition to this,
let me let me back up for a sec to set the premise of this video. So, what I have came across was this video, as I said, because the title is where are the 200 children that went missing at Disneyland? Where are the 200 kids that went missing at Disneyland? So, of course, that caught my attention. And she's just going to start with, the construction and how Disney came about in its opening day. Let's continue.
A lot of excitement for the park's opening was created by Walt's television broadcasts advertising the wonders of Disneyland, resulting in the park being filled with over double its maximum capacity of guests. There was this one man who was charging people $5 to climb a ladder over into the crowded park because staff had to cut it off. Like, they were closing the doors, they were shooing people away. So a guy got ladders and he was like, hey, if you pay me, you can still get into the park. It was so messed up. Rides were breaking down under the sheer amount of pressure they had to handle. The large crowds and technical difficulties made the opening day of Disneyland a disaster. Okay, and then we have a crazy event that happened on Easter Sunday. For Easter Sunday one year, they decided to have a helicopter flying around with the Easter Bunny inside, throwing flowers down to park guests. On the fateful holiday morning, guests arrived at the park clothed in their Sunday best, and a 100-member orchestra played on the steps of the Main Street railroad station. At 11:15, the helicopter appeared, but it was creating a lot more wind than they had anticipated. So this helicopter was literally tearing the branches off the trees in the park. It was blowing away all of the musicians' sheet music. It was lifting up all the ladies' skirts like Marilyn Monroe. It was just awful. These helicopters were destroying the park. And the rabbit did not seem to notice that anything was wrong, so he began tossing down purple and white orchids into the crowd. But here's the problem. The orchids were frozen solid because they were being preserved for the event, and they just did not have enough time to thaw for some reason. So all the guests were running around screaming as the Easter Bunny is throwing down these frozen flowers at them. It was like paintballs being fired from above, and people's outfits were being ruined. They were getting concussions. It was really bad. The helicopter blew dirt and debris into all the Main Street shops, and the force of the wind that it created blew out many furnaces and thermostats, and apparently in the end, Main Street looked like a tornado had gone through it. So, suffice to say, they did not have an Easter event like that ever again. Then we have the Beatlemania chaos. In 1964, at the height of Beatlemania, the Beatles flew down to Southern California to perform at the Hollywood Bowl, and since they were in the area, rumors began flying that they would come to Disneyland for a fun day off. And some of the Disneyland staff caught on to this gossip, and they began telling guests that the Beatles wanted to have quiet time alone. They were coming to the park. They were going to be walking around. The thing was, they told guests that the Beatles would hide in character costumes and pretend to be the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. So the staff were obviously making this up just to be interesting to guests. And at first, the staff that were in the wolf and the pig costumes were playing along with the screaming girls. They were like pretending to run and hide just to go along with it. But the Beatles fans became so intense that the characters' need to flee became real. Fans were mobbing the characters and grabbing at them all weekend. And it actually forced Disney's management to temporarily remove all the characters from the park until the Beatles left California. Because literally people were coming into Disneyland thinking any character who was masked or had a costume on could have been one of the Beatles. It was crazy. And the culprits behind this horrible rumor were never found, so those staff members who were telling everybody this were never found out. Okay, and then we have the rumor of the 200 kidnapped kids. In 1987, a 16-year-old boy was sent out.
So here we go. So all those things was, interesting. So Disney didn't start out with the best day, but look where they are today. So, things can start out rocky and then they can get better. So Walt Disney was a testament to that. So just like this new adventure of mine, it's starting out rocky, but let's see where it goes. So back to the 200 children. Again, this video is from, her name is Jessie Vay, and she is a YouTube content creator, and I'll put her information in the chat. Let's continue.
To the Disney parking lot to bring the car around front to pick the rest of his family up. But he was then followed by these two men who kidnapped him at gunpoint. The two men were thankfully arrested the next day in Los Angeles. The 16-year-old boy was fine. But the abduction fueled these crazy rumors that there was a kidnapping ring in Disneyland, specifically in the Magic Kingdom. Churches in the area also began warning parents to watch their kids closely at the Disneyland park because people were in the park trying to steal them. So parents began calling Disneyland very upset, asking what they were doing to protect the children, and an Anaheim police chief had to give this formal statement denouncing the rumors, but they continued regardless of what he said. According to these rumors, 200 children had been kidnapped in the park, and there was this one story about a woman whose 2-year-old boy was pulled from her stroller while they were walking around Magic Kingdom, and she began running around the park looking for him, and then she saw this woman who was standing there holding up this bundled blanket, and she saw her son's shoe sticking out of it. So she snatched the bundle from the woman and was horrified to see that she was in fact carrying her son, and she had tried to disguise him with the red wig so she'd be able to get out of the park unseen. But this whole story was thought to be another rumor made up to scare people, as there is no record of this happening. And what's crazy is that to this day, police continue to receive dozens of calls each year asking about the non-existent kidnappings occurring in Disneyland. They want to know if these 200 kids have been found, but apparently there never was any 200 missing kids. But some people think, like, is Disneyland just trying to cover this up, or is it just a crazy rumor? Anyways, guys, those are...
What do you think? Is that Disney officials, will say, or leadership team, or what you might call them, even Florida, or just the area in that, the area police in that location, just trying to cover it up? Because again, look how much tourism goes to Florida every year. They don't want people to think that people are stealing the children. Now, I'm not going to say, the number is 200, because it could be more, it could be less. But can it happen? Absolutely. Do they want people to think that their child could be abducted at Disney World? I mean, think about all the money they make daily, on a daily, and all the surrounding resorts around Disney. Like, it's crazy. I've been there. Like, the tourism is just bananas. Like, how the amount of money pumped into that area daily is ridiculous. They don't want word to get out that people's children are missing. So I thought about that, and then down the rabbit hole I went, right? Down the rabbit hole. I said, well, let's just try to figure it out. So I just wanted to see, of course, I go right to the comments. That's what I like to do, right? I like to get right to the comments. And let's look at a couple. Let's see if I can share my screen again. Let's see. Let's get that out the way. And let's try to share my screen again. And I don't think I can share. Oh, maybe I can share my, right here. So we're right here. Um, it looks like Shell's Bunny Lover, VA, 1 year ago, wrote, "My grandmother knew someone who knew someone," which is always a great way to start a comment, that almost they had their kid kidnapped. This person, let's call her Abby, had a young daughter who we will call Eliza. Eliza and Abby were at Disneyland one day, and one moment Abby turned around and Eliza was gone. Frantic, Abby looked frantically for Eliza, asking everyone if they had seen her. So finally, Abby asked a worker to close down the park, which he did, and and as everyone was leaving, Abby looked for Eliza by looking for her Twilight Sparkle shoes. After a few minutes, Abby found that same pair, except it belonged to a little boy, or so she thought. The worker pulled the boy, who was being held by a young lady, to the side and quickly discovered that, in fact, it was Eliza. She had cut his hair off, changed her clothes, and was drugged to fall asleep. The only thing that saved Eliza was her shoes. Long story short, always keep an eye on your on kids. The next comment read, "My mom told me that a girl was taken from Disneyland in the bathroom, and the mother saw a man taking her daughter underneath through a tunnel, but no one believes her. No one believed her, and then the company put out comments that she was crazy." Now, see, I believe that. The company puts out a comment that don't believe her. She's crazy, right? Cover up. It just happened this year. Well, this, as you see, the post was 1 year ago, 2023, on October, and no one was looking at the tunnel. Some workers that work there said that there are tunnels, but they're not allowed to use it. Only people that are dressed as Disney characters. So, so the let's just go back to this one real quick. The first one, she knew someone who knew someone. So it kind of sounded like the story that Jesse just told us, right? Um, but this one, the second one here, the girl was taken from Disneyland in the bathroom, and the mother saw a man taking the daughter underneath through a tunnel, but no one believed her, and the company put out a comment that she was crazy. So, and I'm thinking that when they say put out a comment, I'm thinking, it was probably an email or some kind of message and put out like, don't believe her, she's crazy. It just happened this year, 2023, October, and no one are looking at the tunnels. Some workers that were there, some workers that worked there said that there are tunnels but aren't allowed to use it. It's only for the people dressed like Disney characters. So, and then another one I'll just read because now my interest is sparked up, right? And it says they are definitely, and of course, as you know, I'm trying to read how the dialect of someone's writing, but sometimes there's error. There are definitely trying to cover it up. There are a lot of long tunnels underneath. Where do you think the kids went to? Between Disney and Disney World, there's about 2,000 kidnappings per year. Let me just make a note and do it in real time. If I can. Nope, I can't. But I'm going to make a note here on my paper, and then I'm going to put it on paper on digital copy. How many kidnappings, we'll say that word that they used, kidnappings per year. And I'll ask Google in a minute at Disney World. Now, I did do a outline of what I wanted to, but you guys are going to be in the rabbit hole with me as well, as we continue to go. Okay, so then, so now I'm ready to jump in. Right, it's rabbit hole time. Right, I have my carrots. There was some good things, and I was like interested. So of course to YouTube I go. Right, and I just wanted to see a little more about these tunnels, because I'm like, I believe that there's tunnels. It's a great possibility, right? I'm like, yeah, but I don't know anything about. I never thought about underground tunnels at Disney. Like, you know, Disney's a place for magic and wonder, and yeah. So I just never thought about tunnels, but now I'm interested. So here I go. Right. So let me share my screen once again. And I promise you, I will be getting faster and I will have things queued up next time. So this one I found is a former cast member of the Disney production, and she, reveals some secrets. And I'll post that link as well in the chat.
Magic Kingdom. I'm a former Disney World cast member, and today I'm spilling all the secrets about Magic Kingdom's underground tunnels, aka the Utilidors. Let's get started. This is my spoiler alert warning to you right now. In this video, some things that I'm going to talk about will be ruining the magic. So if that's not your vibe, this might not be the video for you, but don't worry. I will give you another spoiler warning when it gets closer.
Did you know that as you walk along Main Street, USA at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom, you're walking on the second floor of the park? Yes, it's true. As you walk through the Magic Kingdom, there's a whole unseen world just below your feet. It's a series of service tunnels called the Utilidors. The name is a mashup of utilities and corridors. The idea came from Walt Disney himself when he was in Disneyland and saw a Frontierland cast member walking in Tomorrowland, and he thought it didn't look right, that it ruined the magic and immersion. So when it came time to build Magic Kingdom here in Florida, they created a solution to that problem. Florida is very flat, and it's mostly made of sand. If you dig a hole almost anywhere in Florida, you will find water just a few feet below. That's why very few homes in Florida have basements. Most are built on concrete pads, which lay directly on the sand. Back in the mid-60s, when Disney began construction in Florida, Utilidors were the first thing they built. They didn't excavate the tunnel system, they built it on top of the ground. Then, as soon as the network of tunnels was completed, they began dredging sand to create the Seven Seas Lagoon. All the sand they dredged was piled around the Utilidors and raised the ground level throughout Magic Kingdom by 10 to 12 feet. Just like that, the Utilidors were underground.
Here's an experiment for you. The next time you're entering Magic Kingdom, stop for a minute and look ahead toward the Main Street train station. Do you see that gentle but steady upward slope? Now turn 180 degrees and face the Seven Seas Lagoon. Do you see the downward slope? That's where all the sand went when they created the lake. As you walk up that slope, you are walking from ground level to the second floor. Now I'm sure you're asking, what do the underground tunnels look like? Well, I'm going to try my best to show you and find old footage, but Disney does not allow any photos or videos to be taken in backstage areas. And as a cast member, you can get in trouble for taking pictures or videos backstage, so I don't have any to show you. The walls are painted a different color depending on which land you're in, or under, I should say. Also, you'll know you're standing beneath Cinderella Castle because there's a very large dip, which had to be created because of the Cinderella moat. Overhead are color-coded pipes and ducts carrying all the necessary utilities to keep the theme park functioning. On the walls are signs and arrows providing directions to the many corners of the park, which can be accessed underground. There's even tiled or polished concrete floors, some with directional stripes, like in a hospital, to help cast members get around. For example, follow the purple stripe to the wardrobe department. It truly is another world down there. People, merchandise, all this stuff constantly in motion. It's crazy. There are forklifts moving inventory to the stores and restaurants above. There are cast members walking to work or heading to a break room or even a meeting room. There are lockers and lunchrooms for the cast members. There's wardrobe, makeup, and personnel departments. Cast members can even do their banking or even get a haircut in the utilidors. But beyond just getting around, the areas underground are where a majority of Magic Kingdom cast members go to take a break and relax for a bit. There are locker rooms, break rooms, and a cafeteria, as well as grab-and-go food spots located in the tunnels. The cafeteria is known as the Mouseketeria, and this is where most of Magic Kingdom cast members grab a quick bite to eat. There are 3 different dining options to choose from, one of which is the popular sandwich chain, Subway. Okay, I'm giving you another spoiler warning right now. Spoilers coming right now. This kind of thing interests me, so I like to learn about it. I know not everybody likes for the magic to be ruined. So if you don't want the magic to be ruined, go ahead and skip ahead. Time right there. Costuming, dressing rooms, and makeup rooms are also located in the tunnels. In costuming, entertainment cast members check out their basics, which is the required athletic wear. Costuming for entertainment cast members has to be in the tunnels because, unlike other cast member costumes, these outfits are not allowed to be taken off Disney property. The costumes must be turned in at the end of each day to protect the integrity of the characters and the costumes themselves. Each day, entertainment cast members pick up their costumes for the day. Because many of these performers portray multiple characters, what they check out will depend on their location for the day. Rolling black suitcases line the hallway, which allow the cast members to transport their costumes throughout the tunnels easier and without drawing attention. Performers will load up their costumes into these bags and will scan their cast member IDs before exiting the room in a system that keeps track of who has checked out which items. Cast members can be charged for pieces that are not returned within a certain period of time. And just in general, any cast member costumes, if you don't return them, you will get charged. Dressing rooms and makeup areas allow cast members to get prepped and ready for the day. But before performers can go out and do their jobs, they must warm up. Therefore, there is a warm-up room in the tunnels as well. These warm-ups are led by a coach who will make sure that the performers' bodies are stretched and ready to go. This is done to help prevent injuries on the job. The tunnels are a really special place because it's where you'll see Belle chatting with Piglet. Or you might see a Tomorrowland quick service cast member chatting with a Frontierland merchandise cast member. And you might see some things you never thought you would see. So if you're about to become a cast member and wonder if some of the magic might be spoiled, sometimes it happens. And sometimes the utilidors are also a fun place for cast members. Sometimes Disney invites in vendors so cast members can do a little shopping. They bring in DJs for special events, they throw parties for holidays, and they even have rare character meet and greets. Yeah, all of this just might be happening underneath your feet as you walk around the Magic Kingdom. Crazy, right? Another really cool feature of the tunnels are the trash pipes. These are more like chutes that are installed on the ceilings of the tunnels. They were created to transport Disney trash from one end of the park to another, so you don't see cast members carrying large bags of trash around or overflowing trash cans. Now, if you really want to get close to the utilidors, head towards Adventureland. Yes, Adventureland. Rumor has it that over here by the Spitting Camel is the best place to get a good whiff of that Magic Kingdom underground tunnel trash system. Doesn't smell great. So as you can see, the tunnels are really a unique place where magic can be made or spoiled. And actually, did you know, Magic Kingdom is not the only park in Disney World with underground tunnels. Fun fact, Epcot has underground tunnels as well. They are much smaller, but have the same vibe and general purpose. In fact, the construction at Epcot is taking so long because of the Epcot tunnels. All the construction is at different levels, so it's taking them a long time to work around it. So, are you interested now and want to see the utilidors for yourself? Well, there's only 2 ways you can do that. Number 1, become a cast member. Number 2, take a Keys to the Kingdom tour, which you have to be 16 for because, again, some of the magic will be spoiled. Back when I was a cast member in 2019, Traditions was held at Disney University, and then at the end of your Traditions class, you were taken to Magic Kingdom for a quick, very brief tour of a little bit of Magic Kingdom, and they did take us underground in the utilidors. Now, that doesn't happen anymore because now Traditions takes place at Flamingo Crossing for the DCB participants, so that does not happen at Traditions anymore, unfortunately.
So they don't do the underground tours no more. Why do you think that is? Right? I mean, because most people were probably trying to go down there just to see what was down there, right? And, where could these people be going, right? Who's taking the children? Maybe they saw that. Who knows? That's just speculation. Again, this platform is just to bring awareness, make you think a little bit past the norm, right? Of what could be, right? Okay, let's move on. So again, I will be posting all the videos links in my comment section. So let's move on to what we are going to talk about next, because I just feel like I said earlier, summer's coming. We want to take our kids out. We want to do what, and we have to be able to keep an eye on these children, because if we're not, something bad could happen. If you don't have your snacks, get your snacks, right? Because I got mine. So I'm eating corn nuts right now, but I try to eat a little healthy snack at night that doesn't consist of a lot of sugar. So tonight I have corn nuts. Okay, let's get into it. So, so we just took a look at the construction of the tunnels and what they're used for, and why they were created, right? And it makes sense, right? We don't want to see, them pulling and hauling trash, through Magic Kingdom. We don't want to see the characters getting undressed in front of the kids, right? We want to keep the magic going. So I understand the reasoning behind the tunnels, and I think it's a fabulous idea. But when things start happening, right, and the kids are going missing, where are they going missing from? Like, when is a great opportunity? Because most people aren't going to snatch a kid, like, from the mother. Like, those things is like rare and in between, right? I'm saying it could happen, but not like if there's different ways of getting into the tunnel. I mean, there's so much things to look at when you're in Disney World. Like, it's look over there, look over there, look up there, but like nobody's like really like honing in on suspicious behavior, because it's there's just so much that they have you looking for. So I wanted to look at restroom 4. Let's see. Let's Google the restroom 4. Restroom 4. Because that came up on my list earlier. And it just seems like I need to go in and check it out. And it's supposed to be like a secret bathroom. In Disney, like not even on the maps. Restroom 4 Disney. Let's take it back to YouTube videos. Let's get that, because I like to be. Let's see here if I can find a good one. But as I'm looking, it's an urban legend that there is a bathroom that's not even in the map, and it's hard to get to, and people has said that they have gotten children have been missing when going into bathroom 4. So let's see if I can find something good. And again, I'll try to have things already ready and queued up. But, I also would like to take this time, like when people, can get on and they can chat, you can just get on with your phone. You can leave a chat in the chat box down there. I really want this to be like an engaged interactive experience. So let's see here. Well, here goes one. Pause it, share the video. Again, you're going down the rabbit hole with me, so you will be seeing things that I'm seeing for the first time. And nope, that's not the one I want. Stop sharing. And it's this one. Again, I am learning technology, so we're going to be learning together. So, be kind. Be kind. I used to have people who could do it for me. And so I have to learn how to do it on my own. So I want to say this is the one, but it keeps coming up with a different one. So we'll just go around it. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Volume. Let's start again. Okay. I don't like those kind. I like TikTok. I like to be a little bit on the more real side. So let's see if I can find another one like more what we're looking for. Hmm. I stay here. Weird things to find in Disney World. Exploring the private apartment in Disney World. Now here's a fun fact. Walt Disney actually lived in Disney World, Disneyland. His apartment was right above the firehouse. And I just find that creepy. Plus, and we'll do a little deep search on Walt Disney too. Plus, they say that he's buried in Disney World, Disneyland as well. I'm frozen, not buried, but frozen in that tunnel somewhere. All right, let's see here. I'm not really seeing anything. Maybe if I put, instead of restroom, maybe if I put bathroom 4. Because maybe we can just back right on out of that one. Let's see. I'm not really seeing what I'm really looking for, so maybe we'll just circle back to that one later. Because I did have something. Let me see real quick. I'm going to just try one more thing. Let me just do this real quick and see if I can find what I'm looking for. Because let's just see. Because when you're down a rabbit hole, you don't always find what you're looking for like right away. You might have to do some digging, which is how earlier today I found out about a lot of urban myths. So, introduction to Disney myths, abandoned Disney parks, backgrounds, Black Sunday, bathroom rumors. Well, let's see this one. Here goes a little carrot. This one came out 7 months ago. And let me share the video. With you guys so you can see what I'm seeing. Maybe it was this one. Yep.
There was a little-known place within Disneyland called Number 4. It wasn't marked on the usual maps. Hidden away from the bustling crowds, tucked between attractions where the shadows seemed to stretch just a little longer than they should. Most visitors never paid attention to it until the disappearances began. It started with a young boy. He and his family were enjoying their magical day at Disneyland when he told his parents he needed to use the restroom. His parents pointed him toward restroom number 4, which they had passed on their way to the next ride. The boy walked in confidently, the door swinging shut behind him with a soft creak. Minutes passed, and his parents began to worry. They waited, thinking he was just taking his time. But when they went inside to check on him, the bathroom was empty. The boy had vanished without a trace. Frantic, the parents searched every stall, but there was no sign of their son. Security was called, and soon a full search of the area began. They combed through the nearby attractions, the backstage areas, and every corner of the park, but there was no sign of the boy. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air. The police were brought in, but their search turned up nothing. It was as if the boy had never existed. A few weeks later, another family passed by restroom number 4. This time it was a little girl. She ran ahead of her parents, excited to use the restroom so they could hurry off to the next ride. The parents waited outside, glancing at their watches as the minutes ticked by, but just like before, the girl never came out. When her parents entered the restroom to look for her, she was gone. Once again, the park security and staff searched every inch of Disneyland, but it was as though she had vanished into the shadows. As the disappearances continued, whispers spread among the employees. The custodial staff would talk about how strange things always seemed to happen near restroom number 4. Some claimed to hear faint voices, almost like children calling for help, coming from the walls. Others spoke of cold spots, where the temperature would drop suddenly. Even on the hottest days, one janitor even swore he saw a child's reflection in the mirror. Even though the restroom was completely empty, rumors swirled that restroom number 4 was cursed, or worse, that it was somehow connected to the secret underground tunnels beneath Disneyland. Some said that these tunnels were used long ago for darker purposes, and that the restroom was the last remaining entrance to these forbidden places. Others believed that something or someone was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next unsuspecting child to wander in.
Well, let's just stop right there real quick. Let's just pause right there real quick. Now, security's been called. Of course, they're not going to say anything. I've already established my belief in that. Could somebody be lurking down in them tunnels that they don't know? I mean, they have cafeterias and everything, places for them to eat. They could be very well walking around in a costume for years down there, right? Probably living in them tunnels, because I'm sure that those tunnels have off tunnels. So it's possible that someone could be getting in and out. Now, my thing would be, if I'm down in the tunnel and we're all down there working, and I have I'm all suited up to do my little princess routine up on the top. I see a little kid down in the tunnel, somebody walking with a kid down in the tunnel. I would be alarmed about that, because I feel like everybody should be adults there. But what about like what they just said, right? What if they're drugging the kids, put them in a wagon, and then shooting them around down the tunnel? Because of course that's where all the trash and everything is. So that could very well happen too. Like, the kid wouldn't be walking, or they wouldn't be carrying the kid. They could just go ahead and put the kid in any kind of wagon, wheels, Yeah. Let's get back to this.
Then, one night after the park had closed, a security guard doing his rounds heard the faint sound of children laughing near restroom number 4. Curious. He approached the building, but as he got closer, the laughter faded into silence. When he opened the door, the restroom was pitch black. Even though the lights should have been on, as he stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind him, and the air turned icy cold. The guard felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if something unseen was watching him. He rushed out of the restroom, locking the door behind him, and quit his job the next day. Now, many believe that the spirits of the missing children haunt restroom number 4, trapped in a place where time doesn't work the same as it does in the rest of the park. Some say they're still alive, but in a different dimension, and able to escape. Others claim that a darker force resides in the restroom, waiting to lure in its next victim. Restroom number 4 still stands to this day, though few know exactly where to find it. Some say it's been quietly removed from the park's maps to prevent more disappearances. But those who work at Disneyland know the truth. There's something wrong with that restroom, something dark, and if you ever find yourself near it, you'd best stay away unless you want to vanish like the others. After all, at Disneyland, not every story has a happy ending. We don't know how long we've been here, or if anyone can still hear us. All we remember is that day at Disneyland.
Wow. That's crazy. There's just something to that doesn't sit easy in my spirit. And I just, I didn't see a lot of things on the topic, though. I'll have to dig a little deeper, I suppose, for that one. But I want to move on for the sake of time. What I want to bring up is something else, right? Because I really just want to talk about the kids for right now, right? How do we keep the kids safe, right? How do we keep the kids safe? How do we, as parents, as aunts, like aunt, you're taking kids somewhere. You could be the soccer mom taking all the kids, right? You can be anyone who's, taking kids on an outing, taking them down to the park, taking them to the pool, right? We have to be careful, right? We had to, you know, and it's just things that we don't really necessarily think of right away, but we need to be on top of what we're doing with the children, especially when kids are involved, right? Because there's all kind of pedophiles out here, right? We had to be careful. And all those stories were like of myths and tales, but there's a lot of stories that are true that come up in the news, right? Let's just take for instance this one, right? Now, this guy, and I'll put his link in the chat as well. All videos that I play today will be in the chat. And then when you're seeing this on the replay, leave me a chat, because I will be checking the chats after and responding to them as well. And any tips you have for me or anything, you want me to take a look at, I'll be happy to do that. But let's just take a look at this. And when I'm telling you about the realness, right? This is titled Disneyland Pedal Ring Busted, Underground Tunnel in the Bathroom. Let's look at this.
News, y'all. Y'all gotta this, man, when y'all going to Disneyland, to these amusement parks, do not let your children go in these bathrooms unattended. Go in there with them. Go in there with them, and you stand there and you watch. I don't care. So this couple, they took their kids to the bathroom at Disneyland, and while they're waiting on her, they noticed that she's taking a little bit longer than expected to come out. So finally, they went in there, and as they were walking in, it was a man that had their daughter going down into a tunnel into the floor of Disneyland, of the Disneyland restroom. And before they could get to him, the door of that little hole, whatever the fuck, that rabbit hole, closed up on the parents. So now they're talking about closing down Disneyland, man, and doing a search for this girl, man. Y'all be careful out there, man. You some weird individuals out here, and you can best believe, man, if it was like that, somebody at that park knows something. Definitely, man. Y'all watch y'all kids, man. Pay close attention to them, man.
Disney.
Well, here's a story, a true story. Like, because I was like, those are all great, but I want a true story. Like, I'm looking for true stories, like documented stories. So I came across this one, and this is a couple who went to Disney, right? Because I don't want to hear the story. I want the person that was involved telling the story, right? And so I did find one. And so here it goes. Let me try to cue this one up. And again, I will have these all queued up moving forward, unless it's a one that we haven't found, but this one I did have. Let's see. Yep, this is them. And then back again to share the page. Boo. And I will be getting faster as we move along. Again, today's just my practice day. Really just trying to learn the technology here, and practice before I start sharing out the link. Share it out, but yeah. They're
We are
called
diapers on a plane.
diapers on a plane.
Hello and welcome to Diapers on a Plane, episode number 54. Today it's just Catherine and I. We're talking about kind of a serious topic. This is a topic we've been wanting to cover quite some time. It is about child trafficking, which is a serious, harsh, hard topic to cover. It's very controversial for some reason, which it really shouldn't be in this day and age. But we believe that the more we shed light on child trafficking, the more people can be aware with it. And so we wanted to share a story that we had from a few years ago where we had a brush in with potential child traffickers.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to say exactly like what you would call what we experienced because we weren't even really sure what was happening in the moment. We just knew something was very, very off about the situation. And it was after we kind of looked into what had happened and reflected on what had happened and had the opportunity to really, I guess, kind of research and look into the characteristics and the behavior of what we experienced that we realized exactly what was happening. And so what's really scary about that is that had we not been aware, had we not been paying attention, the story could have ended very differently.
Yeah, so the story we're going to tell kind of opened up our eyes. Like we'd already been aware with it, but it kind of a holy crap moment. And this is interesting because we wrote a blog post about this topic. It's actually about experience we had at Disneyland. A lot of people have a lot of strong feelings, either positive or negative about Disneyland. So even the response to people reading our blog post have either been, thank you for putting this out there, or they've even conversely told us we're lying about our story, because I think some people will defend Disneyland to a T. And first of all, when we share the story, Disneyland is not at fault here.
Well, this really has nothing to do with Disneyland. No. This just happened at
Disneyland.
And, you know, we were going to Disneyland all the time. We loved Disneyland. You know, Gabriel was a cast member at the time. I worked for the airline, as you know, and we were traveling there. We were taking day trips there. I would go alone there all the time. This was not a place that we ever felt wasn't the happiest and safest place on earth, and we loved it. And it did have a good outcome, but there are some things that needed to be, you really cast a light on, and there are some things that Disney could have improved on.
Actually, we loved it, and we still love Disneyland, even though we haven't been for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we have no disparaging comments, and this isn't a disparaging blog in regards to Disneyland. It's just happened at Disneyland, and that it is important to note that it happened at Disneyland, which means it can happen anywhere. Including a park where you pay an entrance fee, and you know, all people from all walks of life, you know, come there.
So let's hop into the story. So this was 2016.
Yeah, 5 years ago. So we had the twins and we had Eclair, and Eclair was a little bit over a year. You know, we had two little girls. We were actually going to Disney with Gabe's cousins. There were 6 kids in total, and 5 of them were girls.
Yep, 5 beautiful young girls.
Yeah,
right?
Cute little girls that were super, super excited. And of course, when you go to Disneyland and you have little girls, what is one of the first fast pass ticket items that you're going to do?
They want to see Princess Elsa, right? So we were in line. Where was it? It was the Finding Nemo area, right?
Yeah, so it's the animation area over at Hollywood Studios, and it's inside, which is really nice. And they had really kind of just formatted this whole fast pass. So you actually had a time to come back. You weren't waiting for hours and hours and hours. And so we're in line, and you've got Turtle Crush Talk, and then you have the animators like Sorceress. It's inside the hat, and you had the animation over to the side, and you're right in the center, and there was just this big long line, and you had to go through this line, and then you got to the second line that was inside where you actually could see the princess.
So in a nutshell, we were in a line to see the princesses, probably about a 30-minute line with our fast passes, so we still had to wait a while. And so we were
still outside. We weren't in to see the princesses.
Right, we were behind some gates, right, off to the center area, and we weren't really thinking about anything of it. We were chatting with my cousin and her wife. Our kids were either sitting or playing right next to us. And as we're waiting in line, this older gentleman who looked like a grandpa came up and said, "Hey, do you mind if?" What did he say? He just kind of said, "Do you mind if I kind of?"
No, he didn't say anything. And let's talk about what he
standing behind us.
Let's talk about what he looked like first. He looked like a grandpa. I remember he had a fishing hat on. He was not dressed very nondescript clothing. He had a fisherman's hat on. He had brown hair. His fisherman's hat was very low. I remember he had dark brown hair, and he was fairly overweight.
Right. Yeah. So we thought enough of them because he was standing behind us in line. We assumed he had a fast pass.
What we noticed though is that he kept moving back when he got to the front of the line where you're supposed to exit first line and go into where the princesses are and wait in the second queue.
Yeah.
He kept holding back, and he wasn't actually going through the line. So he was conversing with lots of different people.
It's where you have to show your fast pass to actually get through it.
And we just thought he was a super fan, like we've been there before. Like we've gotten fast passes, and Gabe's taken one of the kids on a ride like that maybe the younger kid couldn't ride on, and I've got fast passes for the next one. I'm like, okay, I'll just hold our spot and he'll get here any minute and we'll just let people go ahead and it's okay. So this was not a warning sign. It didn't seem awkward at all. It just, Disney has all sorts of different fans. So he started making small talk with us and we were almost up to the front of the.
Let's just stop right there. That is a red flag, possible red flag. If he's a man, well, he could have been a lady, but he's just letting everybody go ahead. Now, I've done that in a grocery store many a times, right? I've let people ahead while, it's usually my brother or someone running back to get something. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. But, get your get your antennas up if you start seeing stuff like that somewhere.
The queue. He started making small talk with us. And then he started moving through the line with us. So we kind of figured that, he must have gotten a text from his family.
Yeah, I actually thought maybe he was waiting for his wife or something. Or I wasn't sure. I didn't really ask him.
I just remember he always had his phone out. He never put his phone away and it never went dark. And so he was chatting with us and then he started chatting with us and he was asking us really inappropriate personal questions. The questions weren't inappropriate. It was
if somebody starts asking, questions out of the norm about the kids that you're with, that's another reason to put your antennas up.
Inappropriate how personal they were. So he wanted to know the exact ages of our children. He wanted to know their names. He wanted to know where we were from. He wanted to know how far and what mode of transportation we took to get to Disney. And these were not conversational questions. They were very, very pointed. In fact, at one point I was like, I remember even saying like, we don't share personal information like that. Then that was when he asked us if he could go ahead with us. So at that point he was like, I'm going to go ahead with you. And could you just call me grandpa and pretend like I'm with you?
Yeah. I just remember he said he just really wanted to take some pictures of the princesses, which I thought creepy, but okay, whatever.
Well, what did that have to do with us? That was the trigger for me. Anybody can go through and take pictures with princesses. Right. Why did you need to go in with us?
Well, my assumption is because he didn't have a fast pass and he wanted to go through quickly.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, weird. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. So we go in and when you finally make it to that second queue, there's just 2 or 3 people with you. There's just 2 or 3 groups. Right. And so we get in, somebody's taking their picture with Anna and Elsa, and then it's the people ahead of us. And he's, still making, kind of small talk with us.
So there was a family ahead of us. And I actually remember it was a cute Hispanic family. It looked like a single mom. And she had 2 or 3 little daughters. I remember there were 2 cute little girls with her going up to hug Anna and Elsa. And I was chatting with my cousin, Joe. And I just remembered they went up there and they were hugging Elsa and getting the cast members were taking pictures. But I just remembered that this woman had her 2 kids up there hugging Elsa. And this old guy, he stepped up like he knew them pretty much and just started shooting pictures of the princess and the little girls.
And the little girls were like facing directly forward. So you could see, their age, their height, and the full features of their face.
Right. And so he was up there just taking pictures of those kids. And that's when the spider senses really kicked off with my cousin and I were like, okay, this is not right. Right. And so we stood there behind the line. And then that woman left with her kids. And the Disney cast member then told us to go ahead to take pictures. This guy was still standing there. And we're like
standing there in full view of where you would take
standing there waiting to take pictures.
Like next to our children now.
Next to the photographer. And we're like, no, we're okay. And
you need to go first is what was that.
And so the old guy just said, no, go send your kids up. And we were like, nope. And the old guy kept telling us to come up. The cast members kept telling us to go up. Yeah, that's when
you asked to look at his phone.
Yeah, that's when Joe and I stood up and asked to look at his phone. And he's like, what are you talking about? And we just started calling the guy up and said, I have no idea who this guy is. You're not taking pictures of my kids. And he kept saying, no, it's okay. Just go up and see the princess. And we just told him like, no way in hell you're taking pictures of our kids. Let me see your phone. You better not have pictures of our kids on there. And the cast member just looked like a deer in the headlights. She was just like, what is going on here? And we just said, we have no idea who this guy is. And he's trying to take pictures of our kids. And then the guy just took off.
Well,
Now here, let's stop right there real quick. Is Disney educating their staff on what to look for, odd behaviors, and to report them to security so that security can handle these kinds of situations? Because it seems like that, and she could probably be deer in the headlights because, you never expect like that to happen, but maybe you got trained. Now you got to try to remember what you've been. It's the training that they're doing frequent, right? Some of them are just there for the season. A lot of college students not paying attention in orientation. So do they do it like in the halfway point? Is there a booklet, handbook?
Before he took off, I just remember him saying, like, you can go see them. I promise I won't take any pictures of your kids. And we were just like, you're not going to be anywhere near our family. And it was to the point where he was like, he just went full on creep.
So I think the thing that just blew me away was how brazen this guy was. Like it was like in your face, like, no, it's okay. I'm going to take pictures of your kids. And it's like, the hell you are, dude. We were about ready to rip his phone. I wish we had just ripped it out of his hands, because that was when I was 100% sure this guy is nefarious and this is not okay.
Well, and if you remember, he didn't actually leave. We told the cast members to call security immediately, and that's when he
it took a long time to get that guy out.
Yeah, it wasn't until we threatened to call security and call the cops, which in hindsight, maybe we should have done at the beginning.
No.
Always ask for security. Always report to security or somebody in charge. Don't be fooling around with these kids that are lifeguards. People, they're busy putting people on and off rides and stuff. If you need to talk to like a staff like that, ask them to call security immediately, or you go find security.
But like we said in the beginning, like we weren't exactly sure exactly what he was doing.
I think at some point you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but this went past that benefit of the doubt point to where, like, nope, I trust I trust nobody anymore.
Well, and we asked him, like, are you going to meet the princesses? Are you going to have your own, meet and greet with the princesses? And he flat out said, no, I'm not here to meet the princesses. And that was like, well, what are you doing here then? That's why we're here. We're here to meet the princesses. So if you're going to admit that you're not here to meet the princesses, you don't need to be in here.
But yeah, so after that, we really went out and kind of did some research on that. Talking with my cousin, he has beautiful children, and so really, it really makes you wonder. And so after that, we went, and Catherine especially did some research, and that's when we kind of put together the blog post that we did, which has gotten a lot of traction.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, and we didn't know what was happening either, but apparently what they do is they take photos of children. They text or email those photos to potential buyers, as terrible as that is, and then they get a yes or no, and they follow you around the park until they get a yes or no, and they look for an opportunity. And there are unfortunately horrible tales of this happening over and over and over again. You know the tales that happen airport.
And we will be going over the tales during episode 2.
Reports are rife with stories like this. Most recently there was a woman who tried to grab 2 kids out of the Atlanta airport, and thankfully she was thwarted because the public rallied and they stopped her.
Yep.
But airports are one of the notorious places for this happening, because if you travel and this, or if you've ever traveled, children don't need ID and they don't need proof that they belong to the parents. So anybody can travel with any child and take them anywhere with any name on any ticket, and it doesn't have to match.
Yep. So
did you hear what she said? You can take a child on an airplane and they don't need to have no identification. No identification.
trafficking is disgusting, despicable, and it's one of the biggest secrets hidden out there.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. So major events, you think you're safe at like Disneyland, you think you're safe at a major event, you're not. You're not safe in airports. The Super Bowl is what the largest venue for sex trafficking on the planet, and that's a major.
The Super Bowl. Oh my gosh. Number one spot.
Major like event, right? What else?
So airports, train stations, shopping malls, anywhere where there is just a high traffic area, a lot of people and a lot of exits.
But really, the reason we're doing this video is to at least do our small part in bringing more awareness to child trafficking, sex trafficking in general.
Yeah, and I hate that term. It's rape. It's rape no matter how you look at it. It's horrible. It's one of the most horrific things that can ever occur. And I just can't stand putting any other name on it. So we have traveled a lot. We've traveled all over and we have been very, very careful. So nothing like this that we are aware of that we've ever noticed has ever happened to us before. But we have several rules that we abide by when we travel. And one is that instead of me trying to make sure that I have eyes on all 4 children, I am in charge of 2 and he's in charge of 2, or depending on the time. And now that doesn't mean I'm like, well, I'm not worried about all 4. It just means that when we're in a high traffic area, I've got 2 hands and 2 kids, and he's got 2 hands and 2 kids. And we just always make sure when I'm like, I've got my 2, and he's like, I've got my 2.
Yeah, we've had situations where one will take off and we have to do it. So I think, the biggest point, please always be cognizant of where your kids are. There are a lot of resorts. If you're a big time traveler,
And I will be putting all the rules in the chat.
Some of them that I would avoid ever being separated with your kids. One of those is like places like Atlantis. Like, never let your kid go off alone, no matter how old they are. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous world out there.
And a lot of children will feel slighted, they'll feel like they're not trusted, or that, they never get to a point where they're old enough and responsible enough. And it just needs to be reiterated to children that this isn't about the trust level that you have for the child. It's that evil, nefarious people will do whatever they can and whatever they have to. And children just aren't equipped with the brain capacity to be able to pay attention and know how to get out of these situations. Now, that's not to say you can't teach them skills. And so we have several rules. One rule is if we do, for some horrible reason, do get separated, they don't leave. They don't go and try and find us.
They don't go with anybody else?
They stay where they are. And if somebody comes in and approaches them and says, can I help you find your parent?
This is very important because the kids need to have the rules, and you need to have the rules talked to before you even go. Don't go standing by the front door or wherever it is you're trying to go, because they're not listening. Before you leave your house or wherever everybody's gathered up, you be sure that you tell the kids the rules.
The answer is no. The answer is you can wait with me here, but I don't leave here, because we'll know the last place that we saw them and we will come and find them there. And again, that has never happened, but that's our family rule.
What we do teach our kids is you never separate. When you're like, if our kids are together, you never separate.
Oh, you have a buddy system.
And you scream.
Yeah.
When in doubt, scream your head off.
Yeah.
Never apologize for screaming.
And never stop screaming. So we always have a buddy system. You don't go to the bathroom alone. You don't go anywhere alone. You don't, even if it's around the corner, we're always together. Our children are getting old enough now that they do want to have a little bit of freedom, and we allow that to a certain degree, but they always have to have a buddy. And so that buddy is responsible. It's a lot harder to grab 2 kids than it is to grab 1 kid. That kid is responsible for screaming. I mean, they're both responsible for screaming, but the one is responsible for screaming bloody murder and never, ever stopping.
Yeah. And we did put some links on our blog of stuff that we haven't used, but you can use. There are like trackers you can put in your kids' shoes. There are watches or necklaces that actually can have GPS trackers on them. But once again, if we're aware of them, so are traffickers. The first thing they'll probably do is take off their shoes and kind of anything that could be trackable to make sure those children can't be tracked. They're smart, they're devious, they're dirty. And usually with all of our vlogcasts and everything we talk about, we usually say, do you agree or disagree with us? Put your comments below. If you disagree with us that trafficking is an issue or think that we didn't take this seriously, you're welcome to leave a comment. But I also would like to preface that with take your head out of your butt, because this is a serious topic and you are an idiot if you want to argue anything that we've said at all.
Another person that you may want to look up if you are interested in learning more about this is, his name is Tim Ballard, and he's the founder of the ORU.
And that will also be in the chat, Tim Ballard.
The Underground Railroad. And he used to work for the CIA, and he would rescue. It was his job to go and rescue children who were in these, in these situations, in these horrible circumstances. And he has put out hundreds of videos about this, pointers that parents can do, all sorts of things that will help you as a parent. But he also has a set of rules that he abides by as a parent. And those are great to look out for. But I really want to point out something. And one of the reasons that we're doing this is this problem has grown exponentially since the onset of this pandemic. And this is not a political statement. The fact of the matter is, if you put a mask on your child in a public situation, you cannot recognize them. And there are thousands of videos of people showing that if you have a mask on a child and you have a girl and you put their hair up in a bun and a baseball cap on them, they don't look the same. These people will take their clothes and turn their shirt on inside out, put a baseball cap on them, and they look completely different. You cannot recognize them. It's not worth it to us. You can choose for yourself as a parent, but we have not been doing activities where we are in crowded places that require masks. It's not worth it to us. We are going to stay, at outdoor areas. We're going to stay at less crowded areas. We're going to do things as a family that are more intimate, because that is a huge risk. And I'm going to just reiterate what Gabriel said. If you can't see that, you have a huge problem and you are putting yourself at risk. And that is us standing on a soapbox. This is something very real, and it's something that almost happened to us. And so this is very scary.
Regardless of if it almost happened to us. If you are aware of this, then we love you, and keep being aware of it. If this is new to you, do some freaking research. Do a little bit of research, look into it. And even if it doesn't affect your own kids, be aware when you go out and about. Look for other situations where other things happening. We were actually on a trip back from Florida a little while ago, and we passed a U-Haul truck off to the side of the road.
We passed a toll station, so we were slowed down enough that we could actually see what this was.
Yeah, so we're going through a toll station, and off to the side of the road was a big U-Haul truck. And the police were
moving truck.
There was a big moving truck that were going past at a toll station with cops surrounding it, and the back of it was open as we were going past, and it was just chock full of women, and it really, my stomach just sunk. Because they are shipping people around in broad daylight, in moving trucks, in shipping containers, like you name it, they will find a way. Because next, I think this is even. Hello and welcome.
And we will be talking about a particular corridor. Sorry, I lost the space. Where human trafficking, sex trafficking is being exploited. One of the number one corridors in the United States today.
We are in crowded places that require masks. It's not worth it to us. We are going to stay, at outdoor.
The back of it was open as we were going past, and it was just chock full of women, and it really, my stomach just sunk. Because they are shipping people around in broad daylight, in moving trucks, in shipping containers, like you name it, they will find a way. Because next, I think this is even competing with the amount of money that drug dealing gets in the U.S. And you know what?
No, it's more now.
Oh, is it more?
It is the leading money. It's the highest grossing industry in the United States. So don't think that this is a problem that happens in Amsterdam or happens in Thailand, where it does. It's actually the fastest growing enterprise in the United States. So your children are at risk in America to be, targeted right here in the United States of America.
So stay vigilant. keep your eyes open. You may be saving a life.
If not your own, perhaps somebody else's.
So this was a more serious topic than we usually talk about. I know we went on a little bit, but we do feel it's extremely important. We will add some links below on some further information. If you're interested in checking that out, please do. If you find the information and the stuff we talk about helpful, please consider subscribing. It really helps support our channel. And thank you for watching.
Please also consider sharing this. If you know somebody that could benefit from this information, or you know somebody that might not be aware of it that does have small children, like I said, this is growing, and this isn't our opinion. This is known facts. There's an FBI bureau that is dedicated just to this, and they go out and they give conferences about this all.
This will also be in the link.
The time, and they show you and tell you what you should be looking for, because it is such a horrible growing trend here, and they need all the help from all the citizens that can see and that can find, that hear things, that see things that look out of place, that aren't right. And we as parents, we need to look out for each other, and we do need to help each other, and we do need to be aware of what's going on, because if we are not aware, just like we weren't, like I said, it may have ended differently, and we may be able to stop it from ending differently for somebody else.
Well, there you have it. And I think as far as the rabbit hole for today, that is a good place to land, right? And pivot. Tomorrow we're going to talk about a little bit about the other side, right? The criminals, right? The criminals who's doing the act. Let's hear a little bit from what's going on with them. Because just like she said, they know what we know. And so I only think that it's fair that we know what they know. Okay? So let's try to dive a little bit into that one in episode 2. Again, all the links that we reviewed today will be in the chat. I welcome you to leave any comments or anything that you would like me to look up or you want to share. Please leave your comment in the chat. Remember, this is a safe place. We don't judge here. There's no judgment here. We just ask that everyone be polite to each other and to me. We can agree to disagree, but anybody has the right to have an opposite opinion of me, and that's okay, right? Because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we keep ourselves open, right, for different perspectives. But please don't. No erroneous behavior is accepted. That's all I have to say. Yeah. So tomorrow we'll be talking a little bit about the criminals. We'll review the rules. We'll also the rules of being in public with children, whether the children are with you or you're around children, right? Because like she said, you could save a life. You could save a life. A lot of times, moms are at the parks, right? 4 and 5 kids. You can't look at them all at the same time, right? We are each other's eyes and ears, right? Let's bring it back to the tribe of a community, right? Look out for each other, right? Help the moms with the extra kids, or the dads with the extra kids, or the grandparents with the kids, right? If you see something, say something. Again, you could point it out to staff, but when you say it to staff, make sure you're asking for security or you call the police yourself. And I'm not saying go out there and be Karens, right? You don't have to be a Karen, but if that's what it takes to save a life, then okay, it's better to be a Karen than child just end up missing when it could have been reportable. Right? Could have been, it is, if it's reportable, report it, right? If it looks strange, if your spidey senses are up, if you see a red flag, you know, keep an extra 5-minute eye on that person, right? I want to try to find a video. Let me put that on the list. And my list that I'm writing down will be moved to a document. We'll have another, a couple examples of some abductions and how the community responds. And then we're going to lead perhaps into the human trafficking in the United States and what that's about. And as you heard today, it is a growing, lucrative source of income. I don't want to say, but the way that the economy is going and the changes that are being made, people are going to be, trying to survive any way they can. If they can't work, if resources are getting to be limited, people are going to get more treacherous out here and the kids are at risk. We're also going to talk about, I want to point out some, the larger areas of abducted children. Where are they, right? Maybe you live in one of those towns. Any town is eligible for a child to get picked up. But what are the largest places of missing children? We're going to talk about that too. So I have my hands full. And please subscribe, hit your notification, put your bell, hit all. So that way, if you're not around, right, you're asleep, right, because we're up late. If you're asleep, you can just watch it tomorrow at your earliest convenience. That's fine, right? But hit your subscribe, hit the notification bell, click all. It's all free, right? I'm here because this is what I love to do, right? So you can meet me on my other page, Advocacy with Tanya, which is where I'll be moving to, after I start building up here. Just my practice rounds are over here because you guys know me. So again, thank you guys and have a great night. See you around. Oh, now I had to figure out how to turn it off, but we'll see. Let's see. It took me a minute to figure out how to start it. And now let's see how we have to end it. Let's see here. Let's try these over here. Community, edit. Oh, duh. End stream. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.